30 pieces, not 9,000. So you can grab this and you can put this into Excel or SPSS, whatever works better for you, right? Just by pasting. Okay? Yeah? All right. So here's the deal now. The option for coding. It's probably going to be easier for you right now to use Excel to code. If you don't want to use Excel for analysis, that's fine. I would take it to Excel, code it there, and then put it into SPSS if you want to use SPSS. And I'm going to show you why, because I'm going to show you a simple way to code this. So, probably the fastest way for such a small amount of data is to just use the find replace functions within your columns. You should know how to kind of do that if you have any word processing or Excel at all, any kind of Microsoft Office. But I'm going to show you just in case. So here I have male and female. I need numbers, right? What could I do?
Male is 1, female is 2.
Beautiful, there's a coding scheme. I am hitting Control F. It brings up this guy. It says find what? Well, I want to find and replace. Okay? So I want to find the word male and I want to replace it with a 1. Now notice I highlighted my column first. Okay? It shouldn't matter because in your context there shouldn't be male anywhere else on your document. But there you go. Now I'm going to hit replace all. Oh no, it screwed up my female. That's okay, no big deal because female's 2 anyway, so I don't care that it says fee 1. Because now I can just do this. I want to turn all the fee 1s into a 2. See what I'm saying? Replace all. Oh, look, my data is coded. I now have numbers that I could actually use for analytic purposes instead of words. Now, if you don't want to do that, and you would rather try to describe coded data, which central tendency is appropriate to describe data that is just yes or no? Central tendency. Mode, right? That's it. Which is more common? Hey, guess what you can do? Count if, this is just option number 2, if you don't want to code. If you want to code, do what I just did, you're done. Do it for both, right? So you can do the same thing for drink, right? You can make drink no, 1, drink yes, 2, and you're done. But if you don't want to do that, you can do count if, right? You can select the range, and you can tell it what you want it to count. Count if no appears there. I have 18 no's out of 30 data points, right? So 18 out of 30 means no is my mode. I'm done. See what I just did? Because I don't need to do an average, so like technically that's good enough. Tracking me? Okay. So if you guys remember how to use some of that stuff, it can be quite useful. So this is kind of new. It's just count if, right? And you just tell it what you want to count. But if you feel more comfortable doing the coding and then getting the mode in SPSS, do it that way, right? Let's double check. I don't think Excel works for this, but I'm going to try it. I don't think it works. Yeah, because it needs you to code your data if you want to use the mode function, right? But you can use the count if function if you want to instead, and it does the same thing. You just have to realize that makes that the mode, right? Okay, so other than that, you'd have some data you have to code. You got to figure out what do I need to do with this stuff. So, for example, if I asked you to make a histogram of a certain variable, you need to be able to produce that in either SPSS or Excel, right? If I ask you to tell me about the histogram, you need to be able to describe it, right? Is it pretty normal? Is it skewed? That kind of stuff. You need to be able to compute the means or central tendency or dispersion appropriately. You need to be able to use that to make decisions like you practiced on your homework. So if I say, compute the average height for men and the average height for women, right? And tell me which is greater, right? Okay, so now we can do this a couple ways. You can either select only a certain type of data, right? So I could do they still have this function? Average if. You can do it in Excel if you want to, or you can select your cases in SPSS. Or if you don't figure out how to do this, it's only 15 pieces of data for men and 15 for women, and you could just hand jam the sucker. Or delete the data that's women, or delete the data that's men if you really can't figure it out, right? Like, you don't have to be stuck. So I want to compute the average age, for example, okay? And I want to compute the average for that data if what's my criteria? Oh, sorry, first I want my range of data. So my range for first it's asking where is the if function, then it asks for the average range. So my if function is going to be based on sex. So I'm going to select this data first. Apologies, I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so if function is going to be here, because sex is my contingent, I want to do it for a certain thing. And if those cells have the value of 1, right, then I want to get the average of these cells. Does that make sense? That's what I've written here. Average if B2 to B31, where sex is located, is a value of 1. Does that make sense? There you go. 13.72 is the average height for males. Or average age for males, sorry, not height, right? I could do the exact same thing with this equation and just turn it into females if I changed it to a 2. Right? 13.33. So comparing those two, the men are older in this sample, right? 13.72 versus 13.33. Okay? I'm going to, as a last thing, how could you do that? Because everything else you should be able to do really easily. This should be the only thing that requires extra thinking, which could force you either to have to hand jam it or to use this kind of stuff, is we could just put this in SPSS. So I'm going to do that real fast instead. Okay? And I'm going to show you how. So find what? Find no, change no. I'm going to do a 0 because I like zeros for an absence of stuff. So 18 replacements. Find what? Yes. I'm going to change that to a 1. Replace all. Okay, now my data is all coded. So it goes nice and neatly into SPSS. Now, SPSS doesn't paste variable names really well. So I'm going to just take my data and not take the variable names, okay? Because I'm not going to show you how to import it right now from Excel, although we could. Okay? So if you use Excel, you can paste the names, no problem. If you're going to use SPSS, pasting the names can get kind of tricky. But this is just the kind of stuff where it's seen, can you not freak out? Keep your cool and just plot on. You'll be all right. Okay? So here I'm going to paste in my data from Excel. Control V is all I'm hitting. There are all my numbers. Okay? Now, if I want to, you know how to use this. If you feel tripped up, I can, quickly label this stuff, participant, sex, right? And I can put my values on to be good about it. 1 is male, 2 is female. We've done all of this before in class, so this isn't new. This is not new, okay? So just as an example of how we can do this kind of stuff, you can label them if you want to, okay? So I'm just going to label the last one and do age and do the demo of how you could do that in SPSS instead. So age, we don't need to code. So now if in SPSS, I want to do the same kind of thing, I go to data. Okay, this is where you need to, if you're sleepy, I don't care, get over it for 2 seconds, because this will help you a lot. Otherwise, you're going to not really love, unless you really got Excel right there. Okay, data. Then I can go to either split file or select cases. I'm going to show you split file because it will do something for you very quickly. Split file. Split file by what? By sex, because I am trying to get averages for just one sex or the other, not combined right now, right? So I pick sex. I go organize output by groups and throw sex in there. Okay? Now it's going to break down all my data for only one group or the other. Does that make sense? Now you can undo this. You can go back and you can click this box and go back to analyzing all your data. So you can go back or forth. Does that make sense? So if I want to do by groups, do that, hit OK, analyze, right? And then if I want to do my means, I can go to frequencies. I can now get sex, right? I don't want tables. That's going to look way too big. But I do want statistics, like the mean, the standard deviation, right? I'm going to get those just for now. They're very useful. I don't want sex. I want age. Okay, so age, I'm going to get the average age and the standard deviation of age by sex now. So look at this. Saves you a bunch of time if you take the time to do this. Look, for men, 15 cases, the mean 13.72. Hey, look, we got it right in Excel. The standard deviation 1.52 automatically computes for you. Then I go down here, and here's where sex equals female. The mean is 13.33. Standard deviation is 1.26. So we can quickly look at this and say the guys have a higher mean and more variability around the mean in ages. So there's a greater span of age for guys, right? A greater variability as well as a higher average, right? Does that make sense? So you could answer that question substantively. You could say, guys have an average age of 13.72 with a standard deviation of 1.52. Girls have an average age of 13.33 years with a standard deviation of 1.26 years. This shows that guys were older and there was more variability in the age scores for guys than there were for girls. Does that make sense? You should be able to do all of that. That's the only thing that's anything like tricky or new in your data analysis, is being able to do that. Everything else you've done a bunch, you've practiced with. So you need to be able to get your data from that table into somewhere where you can use it. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you're going to end up hand jamming, which is going to be really hard when you're trying to draw a frequency graph by hand in your canvas area. That'll be tricky. So you need to be able to get it in here, do stuff like create